Now, with me now in the studio is the Managing Director of Transmission Company of Nigeria and Chairman West African Power Pool Agreement, USMAN GUR MOHAMMED. You're welcome to Weekend Fire.
Thank you very much.
All right. Now, transmission infrastructure are said to have suffered neglect in the past. Tell us the story for now. What is the story?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, when the power sector reform was done, the vertically integrated utility, which is TCN, was divided into 18 companies. Transmission was left alone as an entity of its own, and the remaining other 17 companies were sold. Transmission was handed over to a management company, which is to manage it for a period of 4 years. And within this period, I can tell you, there was no single audit that was carried out on transmission, no single audit. And no single investment was brought into transmission. So this period that I'm telling you, TCN became the weakest link in the power sector value chain. We came in February 2017 through the intervention of the current president, who asked us to come. I used to be a staff of African Development Bank. And I can tell you from that time to date, we have commissioned more transformers, more than what was done in the previous 10 years. And at the same time, I can also tell you that we have raised investment to expand the grid and stabilize the transmission infrastructure. We believe that what we are working on to make the grid at least 20,000 megawatt by 2021. So this is what we are doing. And I can tell you that all the elements that we are supposed to do to make transmission work, we have put in place, and we have all the support and the encouragement of the government. For the first time, everything we are doing, we are allowed and we are given free hand to do what we are supposed to do. And you recall that we met about 800 containers that were stranded in the port. Some of those containers has been there for over 15 years. Some of them have been auctioned. We had to, in fact, the first 5 months, I could not remove anything from the port. But eventually, we are able to work very hard. I can tell you, as at last week, we have removed 708 containers out of the 800 containers. And we have encouraged TCN engineers to install sub-transformers and equipment. What we discovered that several of the contracts we used to give in the past, especially for equipment that we have already imported, we give to contractors. We discovered that it's TCN engineers that used to install them. So they will ask our engineers to work in weekend to help them. So we say, why can't we just encourage our engineers to do it directly? And that is why we are building substation by ourselves now. I can tell you, for the first time in the history of TCN, we are building a substation even on an island. There's an island called Elisha in Lagos. We are building a substation there. And the cost estimate of that substation, if we are to give it to a contractor, is about 1 billion. But we have spent not less than 100 million. And the project is 95% completed. So this is the way we are working, and that's why we are changing things.
So the story has indeed changed from what you have told us now. But are we comfortable to assume transmission linkages have increased frequency to facilitate more power from the generation plant or generating plants?
Thank you very much. You know, to stabilize the grid and make the grid a modern grid, we need to do 4 things. 4 things. There are so many other small things that we need to do, but the 4 important milestones that we need to achieve are: 1, frequency control. I want to tell you that we achieved frequency control of 49.5 and 50.5 Hz. That is in June 2017. I can tell you this has not been achieved in the history of the country in the last 20 years. The second thing we need to achieve is what you call spinning reserve. If you check our daily broadcast, the spinning reserve is either 40 or 0. I can tell you also we have advertised for spinning reserve, and we are doing the evaluation now. This is the first time in the history of Nigeria that we are having procurement of spinning reserve. And we are going to deploy adequate spinning reserve to stabilize the grid. The next thing we need to have is what we call SCADA. SCADA is the supervisory control and data acquisition. Nigeria has attempted to have SCADA 3 times, and 3 times we are not successful. Everything that we are supposed to do to ensure that this SCADA this time around work, we have put in place. In fact, we just did an international conference on SCADA, where we brought power grid from 3 power grid across the world, plus all the original equipment manufacturers. So we are putting a SCADA that will work, and we have the funding from from the World Bank. The next thing we need to do is to put what we call critical investment in lines and substation. Now, all the lines that are not working, we are fixing them. Let me give you an example. The line between Alauji and Alauji, Uweri, Iheala, Onitsha is the weakest in the link now. This line was awarded by the previous regime to a company, indigenous Nigerian company. That contract has failed. Now we are going to award that contract, and African Development Bank is financing that contract. And we are going to award it, and we are going to build a quad line between Alauji and Onitsha, which will significantly stabilize the grid. Now, for us to do that, we need to reconductor Enugu to Onitsha. Now, the contract was awarded several years, but the equipment were in the port. They are part of the equipment we have recovered from the port now, and now we are going to kickstart the contract so that we reconductor the line. And this is what we are doing all over the country. So for us, we are on track, and the donors that are supporting us are also seeing different way of doing things, because we have introduced what we call advanced procurement. This has never happened in the history of Nigeria. Advanced procurement will help you shorten the length of time you spend in implementation of donor-funded project.
Okay, now speak freely, actually, on the current expansion and rehabilitation program of a TCN.
Yeah, we are using, that's investment in the critical lines and substation that we are doing. And the first thing we are doing is that we encourage TCN engineers to install all the transformers that we recover from the port and those that are sitting in our substation. And I can tell you, we have done a lot. If I give you an example, we have done 60 megawatt MVA in Aba. We have done 40 in Umahia. We have done 60 in Uyo. We have done 60 in Zaria. We have done 40 in Funtua. That's what we do all over the country. These are TCN engineers doing the installation, not contractors. We have also helped contractors that are willing to work with us to complete their project. And I can tell you, under that process, that's how we completed Kukwaba. We helped the contractor to complete. We have not told the contractor to pay us, but at least we have completed the project.
We have achieved the objective.
Now, some contracts that are not working also, we have gone in to cancel them. And that's how we are able to complete Damatru. Damatru was awarded in 2006, for information, with a contract period of 18. We have finished the contract now. We put our engineers there and we say, you have no holiday, you have to finish. And that's how we finish Meduguri. Both Meduguri and Damatru now, they are energized on 330.
Well, okay, now, we don't have time on our side at the moment, but I'd like to answer this question just in 10 seconds or thereabout. You are the chairman of the West African Power Pool Agreement. What does that mean, and how does Nigeria benefit from
the West African Power Pool is just like any other trades. We are supposed to export energy to those areas where there's demand. For information, Nigeria has a comparative advantage in terms of generation, meaning we can generate least cost per kilowatt hour than any other country in West Africa. So we are supposed to generate electricity and sell to them. So, and that is what the West African Power Pool was created. And as we speak with you, we are selling energy to Benin and Togo. We are also selling energy to Niger. But we are also expanding this capacity to move to supply energy up to Cote d'Ivoire, up to Senegal. But we are also trying to step away from the way we have been doing business before. Because before we do government to government, we are now encouraging generators to intercontract with the people who need it, so that we remove government out of the system, so that it will become more efficient and become more business-like. And that's what we are moving.
All right, thank you very much indeed for educating us on the development in the power sector, especially in the transmission aspect of the power value chain. I have been speaking with USMAN GUR Mohammed, who is the manager